I'm curious how you actually got involved with the show and how this even came to be for you.
Well, it's a long story, really. I first met Martin Garrow when I was on Connecting, NBC's Connecting during the pandemic. And when that show finished, I sent him some things that I was developing, and we started talking about, creating something for me. And we thought that it would be helpful if I had some experience in a writer's room before, pitching my own show. And so I wrote a sample, and he was the executive producer at the time, not show running. But I was like, "Hey, I wrote a sample. Can you help me get a meeting?" And so Stephen Lillian and Brian Weinbrandt, who were at the time show running, met with me, and I basically floated this pitch of this episode at my interview. But I said, like, I could give you a pitch on, like, Ben leaping into, a coach of a base. I was actually at a soccer team at the time, with a trans kid. But really, I think the fact that I'm trans gives me a kind of expertise in, like, walking a mile in another person's shoes. And so I know a thing or two about, like, being inside another body. And and I think that point of view, that perspective of, like, being inside otherness, just really lends itself to what quantum leap is. So that's kind of how I got involved in the show. And then, picked up this pitch, and workshopped it with the room and got the episode together.
Well, and so in addition to writing it, you also directed it, which is a big, big thing. What was the process like? And also kind of getting that, was that something that you expressed interest in? Was that something that they came to you with? What was that process like?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I had expressed interest in shadowing. um and of course I want to be able to direct. I That was my, like, career in the theater. But it was a really, like, crazy circumstances. Our first director, Morinike Joella Evans, what was taken out, unfortunately, on day one. And I just said, "Look, this whole episode is about put me in, coach. So put me in, coach." You know what I mean? Like, I'm ready. I've done 30 episodes of television as an actor. Like, I've trained as a director. I'm here. I wrote the story. It's kind of based on my life. I'm the only trans person around. Like, let's do it. And so um, we made it happen, like, really, really quickly. And then thankfully, Mornike was able to come back on the last day when I was appearing as Dottie, and she got to direct that day. And then I just got to be an actress.
Okay, I have so many questions about that because directing is not easy, and you were thrown into the deep end of that because you didn't get the
Yeah,
normal kind of prep process of, picking your shots, picking, I imagine, some of your actors, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah.
What was the most difficult portion of kind of being in that position without having, the months or at least weeks of prep to know that's what's
Yeah.
happening?
Well, I mean, I lived it, and I wrote it, and I produced it. So even through prep, I was, hands on. And then, in a strange way, it was sort of like just how it had to be, I think, because especially to speak the nuance of the language of the script with these trans actors, um, it just it just fit, you know. I mean, I've directed actors for the majority of my lifetime, and I know how cameras are supposed to feel when they're on you, So I felt like I could translate that into what I wanted to see. And yeah, it was definitely a whirlwind, but also I had the best team around me, and I could ask questions of anybody. My director of photographer, Anna Mortegi, was just so incredible. And yeah, I literally, I just told everyone from the grip to the DP, I'm going to be asking questions about everything I don't know. So please help me out if I come to you. And people were, I mean, the thing is that this episode inspired so much heart from everybody working on it, that there was a sense of joyful collaboration every step of the way. And that's from, like, the network and the studio to, again, the shop car guy. Like, everyone felt like they had an extra stake in this because it was such an important story to tell.